All right, and we're going to switch gears here and talk about the crime in D.C. As you heard Bob at the top of the hour there with some of the incidents that we've seen just in the last several days. But D.C. leaders have a new plan to fight back. Live right now, MPD Police Chief Pamela Smith joining us this morning. Chief, good morning. Thanks for joining us.
Good morning. How are you today?
I'm well. Lots to talk about. There's been a lot of talk about these proposed changes that Mayor Muriel Bowser talked about yesterday. Among those changes, clarified language on chokeholds, reinstating a mask ban while committing a crime, and allowing car chases in certain circumstances. I want to start with the chokehold because there was a lot of talk about that, obviously, with what happened during the pandemic. And I wonder, with George Floyd, I wonder, what do you mean when you say clarify the language surrounding chokeholds? What needs to be clarified?
Well, what I'll start by saying is, first of all, the Metropolitan Police Department has had a long-standing restriction on chokeholds. I support that completely, 100%. What we want to do with this particular legislation is clarify the neck restraint, serious use of force versus incidental contact. What we're finding is that with the legislation as it's written, when we attempt, or our officers attempt to control the movement of a suspect, whether he or she is engaged in a suspect who's an armed individual or someone whom they are trying to stop from or harming themselves. We're finding that our officers are having incidental contact with the neck in order to control the movement of that individual. And so what we want the legislation to be able to do is to give our officers the opportunity when there is incidental contact to not be considered serious use of force.
Gotcha. Moving on to car chases. I know it's been longstanding preventing or not allowing officers to take part in a car chase in the city. You're going to allow it in certain circumstances. What circumstances would they be?
Well, let me begin by saying Chairwoman Pinto introduced in July a bill that allowed us to have certain pursuits in certain circumstances. This particular legislation is just asking to make that a permanent change for the department. We're not doing anything any different than what we've been doing thus far. When an officer reasonably believes that a suspect is engaged in any criminal activity of violence or poses an imminent threat or death to public or a person, the officers have the right to pursue. We're just asking that this legislation makes that permanent.
And it leaves it to the discretion of the police officer in that moment to decide, essentially weigh the risks between this car chase and not taking part in a pursuit, correct?
That is correct, and we have policy in place that creates very good layers of supervision when that officer makes that decision to pursue a particular vehicle that's or suspect that's been engaged in a violent criminal activity. But we do have layers in our policy that is very restricted. We actually have one of the most restricted pursuit policies across the most police agencies, and so we find that giving them the opportunity to reasonably have the opportunity to pursue in certain circumstances will certainly assist us with the trending crime that's been happening across the District of Columbia.
A most recent crime involving masks, actually, this is mask wearing that was talked about in these proposed changes from Mayor Bowser, is what happened at the wharf. We saw several men take part in a robbery and they were all wearing masks. That is now going to be banned when you're committing a crime. How will that, what do you expect the impact of that will be?
Well, first of all, I've spent a lot of time in the community, and the community wants us to do something when it comes to these this theme that we're seeing of juveniles and individuals wearing masks in order to commit criminal activity. This gives our officers the opportunity to engage those individuals who are committing these types of crimes. This is not a new law. It was a law that was in place in 1982. We're just asking to have that law to be reinstated. There's been a lot of criminal activity specifically related to wearing ski masks, and we're specifically talking about ski masks, individuals wearing masks for the purpose of committing criminal activity or intimidation or fear. That's what it's going to do. It's going to give our officers enough room to be able to engage and have contact with these individuals.
We have to wrap here, Chief, but I do want to ask you, I know Mayor Muriel Bowser is saying these proposed changes, these most recent ones, are just plain common sense, to use her words. Crime, as you mentioned, I mean, it's been trending upwards in some categories, unprecedented for this year. some would argue if these are common sense proposals, why was this not implemented at the top of the year when we saw crime trending upwards?
Well, I can tell you this. I mean, crime trends change significantly throughout the year in many places, many jurisdictions across the year. What we're looking at right now is that we have to do something now, addressing crime trends now. I fully support this legislation. I wasn't here at the beginning of the year. I was in the District of Columbia. And so we recognize as crime trends increase and even as they decrease, we have to do something. And so Act Now is going to assist us with giving our officers the tools in order to deal with some of the trending crimes that's happening in the District of Columbia.
And of course, those proposals will be presented to council at some point, and will of course be on top of these changes, proposed changes. Chief, thank you so much for joining us this morning. We appreciate your time.
Thank you for having me.
All right.